What's up, guys? Brandon and Ian here with Glass It Detail.
Yeah, so today, guys, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you like an easy business layout for like a detailing business, because we found that when we go on YouTube, they have a lot of videos that kind of explain how to get started in terms of the cost, but they don't really like set you up to know like what you should be trying to do and like basically how to set up and your business. They just kind of say like, oh, you need to buy these products and you can start for this amount of money. So we're trying to lay out some other details that we think they might have missed.
Yeah, so here we go. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Check out some of our other videos. Cut.
Cut.
All right, so step one really works for any business, and that is define your why. So money is a short-term motivator. It's becomes superficial and you lose motivation after a bit of time. Most businesses I've started in the past were about money. There was not a lot of passion there, and honestly I got so burnt out. It took a few years, but the passion about money left, and I just got sick of the day-to-day grind and garbage that came because of the lack of passion. So I think the first step is define your why. And for me, I love cars. We do high-end ceramic coatings, for those of you that don't know, and I have a passion to make cars look awesome. I don't really care much for interior, but we are going to talk a little bit about that and how it does help you create more income and more opportunity as we go. So first step is define your why. Next would be identify your areas of interest. So like I had just talked about, I don't really want to do interiors. I am not real passionate about that. Exteriors are pretty awesome. You can take a car that's just hammered, and we'll show you some clips here in this video of some of the rigs that we've done that were just wasted, and you can make them just glow. I mean, literally better than when they came off the showroom floor.
Yeah, I think that that is like one thing that a lot of people kind of get confused about, is if they start doing like one area of work, so they're like, I'm gonna work on cars, I'm gonna do detailing, they think that like, oh, I have to do what everybody else is doing, but you don't have to do that. If you don't enjoy it, you can try it out, but really you can try things and say like, I really like doing this, I do a really good job at this, and I can make money doing this, and then you can try to add something else to that, and if you find you don't like it, don't stick to it. Just try to keep what you like to do, because you don't want it to become monotonous. Like he was saying earlier, is like, it's not about the money completely. Like, yes, you need money to live, but you also want something that's sustainable that you'll want to keep coming back to every day.
So, not that interiors are necessarily bad, we just prefer to do exteriors. So interiors do lead to new clients, they do lead to high-end ceramic coatings, they do lead to a lot of things. So there's a lot of add-ons that you can do by doing interiors. So interiors are not necessarily bad, that's just something we don't choose to do because we like shiny. Interiors are kind of dull. We can't really polish them. Now, you've defined your why, you've got areas of interest, we call this your niche, right? So now you got to do some market research, right? Who are your competitors? What are they charging? And why? You got to know your market. So I live in a small town of about 7,000 people, and there's probably 6 or 7 detailers in that town. Only one of them that I know of, and I could be wrong, there might be more, but only one of them that I know is actually pretty decent. So, and he is booked. And 7,000 people, those of you who don't know much about a small town, very difficult to make a living with anything. And so he's actually an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kid. He's been doing it since he was 14. He's got himself a cool old Dodge now that he put a big lift on it, some 35-inch tires. He's paid cash for all of it. He's doing really, really well. Very customer service oriented and very detail oriented, hence the detail business. So You got anything to add there?
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to add too is that he said know your competition, but one thing that's really cool that you can do, especially if like you're a younger guy, if you're like 16, 17, 18, maybe in your 20s, is that if you want to start a business that you might be interested in, but you have no experience doing that as a business, one thing you can do is you can find a business that already does it and try to get a job there, like a temporary job, and then you can see the ins and outs of how their business runs, and you can basically learn all the things that you like that they're doing, and then you can say like, oh, I don't like these other things that they're doing. So you can basically shortcut yourself, that you don't have to make a lot of the things that you see as mistakes that they do, but you get to like learn a lot of things you might not have even known about that business. And a lot of the times the guys that are working at those businesses, they've been doing it for 10, 20 years, and so they're extremely experienced, and you're gonna learn how to do that like type of thing like way faster and way more efficiently than most people are gonna do like starting on their own. So you can always learn from everybody, even if it's what not to do. So I think that's always like a really good one, because you're not only learning the process, but you're getting a steady income while you do it, until then you're like comfortable going out and trying it for yourself.
Right, perfect. So it's learn your target market, either duplicate it or change it. Like he was saying, what not to do, take what you like, repeat it, take what you don't like, fix it. One of the cool things about a detail business that's mentioned in some of the videos online here that we look at, but one of the coolest things is it puts you in front of higher class people.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's neat about that is, how many of you guys have millionaires' phone numbers in your phone right now? And me personally, I've got 4 or 5, and then there's probably some closet millionaires in my phone as well. And I do have some other YouTubers in my phone, which my detailing business has led me to meet. One of which was Fab Rats.
She's shiny, man.
We did a video where we filmed with them and polished his truck. Another was Misadventure Lab, who is Trevor and Tucker from Matt's Off-Road Recovery.
Better than new.
And I do have their phone numbers. My business led me to that. And that's something that we'll teach down the road, is how to leverage what you have. Also, if you're not interested in going to work for somebody to start your own business,
yeah, it's not necessary, but it's just like if you're uncomfortable just kind of jumping out there is kind of like where I would go with that.
There are training facilities. We train. Like you know, there is options to learn the business without necessarily going to work for somebody.
Yeah.
The difference there is, now most of the training companies are going to teach you some really high quality stuff, and some of the detail companies and other companies you work for are not going to teach you that stuff. It's going to be a lot of what not to do. So there is plus and minuses to both. Yep. A little bit of common sense, you can figure out, hey, this works, this doesn't work. The difference though in training, like if you wanted us to train, it's a paid train, right? You're paying us to train you. You get paid to be trained when you're working with somebody else.
Exactly.
So you know, there's pros and cons to both. Me personally, I would much rather just do it on my own. I've ran my own businesses since I was 22 years old. I don't know any different. I'm not opposed to learning new skills and new trades. Him and I went to paintless dent school. We learned some other skills that we could add to our detailing business, and so we're not opposed to learning and training. But I am the best worst employee. I'll work my butt off, but I have to work with a team, not a do as I say, not as I do type thing. You define your why. You identify your area, your market, your niche. Decide what you want to do in auto detailing. Interiors are not wrong. A lot of people make a lot of good money. It opens up a lot of good doors. My wife's cousin makes a living just washing cars.
Yep. Just
washing cars, honestly, you can charge 50 to 150 bucks. You wash and then just do a quick vacuum and clean the windows, right? Yep. And people pay that. Figure out what direction you want to go. You can always do add-ons. One of the add-ons we do is windshield rock chip repair. Super easy to do and extremely profitable, right?
So just always try out something if you're curious about it, and you might be happy with what you find.
So with a windshield rock chip repair, it's anywhere, depending on your location in your area, it's anywhere from $75 a rock chip for the first one on the first window to $150. We know guys in Vegas and California, they're charging $120 to $150 a rock chip, which is awesome. It takes you 15 minutes. Your cost is like $2. So when we say add-on, it is ideal. Getting in front of the customer and doing a good job leads to those add-ons. If we point that stuff out to the client, they're actually grateful for us. But a great sales technique is, hey, guys, you know what? We're here. I noticed you had a rock chip. I normally charge 120 bucks, but hey, today I'm going to give it to you for 75.
Just be a nice person, and like generally people will feel that vibe out and they'll be like happy to work with you.
Well, that also leads to referrals from their friends.
True.
So, and you don't know, like the guy that the school teacher might have a millionaire uncle.
Yep.
You never really know where those leads will go. So don't treat one client better than the other, and don't disregard one because they are janitor, right? Like it doesn't matter. They still have friends. They still know people, and their friends they're willing to pay you for something. Whether it is just a quick glass clean, a wash, I mean, there's always a sell there. Another add-on is touch-up paint. So touch-up paint it's not hard to do, but there is definitely some technique. So touch-up paint, you can charge, depending on how much, you can charge anywhere minimum of 75 bucks. There's a liability with touch-up paint. So have the client buy the touch-up paint. And they can get it from O'Reilly's. You can order it from O'Reilly's. You can order it from Napa Auto Parts. You can order it from the dealership on most vehicles. Some are specialized and dealership only, depending on what paint, the make and model of the vehicle, whatever. So some of the exotic cars, you're not going to find those at O'Reilly's. But they get the touch-up paint. Now it's your job just to add it on, and it takes anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour and a half. If it's an hour and a half, you better charge a couple $100. At least. And I've had some touch-up paint on cars that are just peppered, where it's like 4 to 5 hours. Honestly, you probably need to charge about $350 to $400 for that. But they buy the paint, takes the liability off of you. There are kits that are sold that you can pretty much match any paint. Personally, for me, like that's a great way to go. They're very expensive. They run about $5,000. It's not a bad way to go, but personally for me, I would much rather just not have that liability. So if it doesn't match or it cracks down the road, it's not on me. We've talked about define your why, identify areas of interest. We also added some quick add-ons that you could do in a detailing business that bring in big money. So most detail businesses make a steady profit. Those add-ons are just a bonus, right? So it takes you an extra 10 minutes. You made 75 bucks, who cares? It's awesome. Next would be startup costs. And that's I don't want to say controversial topic, but like it can vary.
Yeah, of course it can vary.
So
depending on like where you are in like the state, like what, the setting. I mean, even just like depending on like what year it is, like during COVID, the prices are high, whatever. It just depends.
Right.
On a lot of things. So,
right.
Yeah.
There is some basics. There is a lot of videos online on how to start a business, detail business for $500 or less. Some of those are pretty decent. It goes over the basics. I don't necessarily agree with some of the products that they're buying. I think is included in your startup cost. You should also include research of quality products, read reviews, watch videos on YouTube, and then make a decision and base your budget off of that. Because quality products make a huge difference in the delivery of your services.
One thing that I think is really interesting is that sometimes you'll find a really high quality product and you're gonna be worried like, oh, but I don't want to pay for it. Some high quality products are not expensive.
Right.
We even found that Rinseless car wash product, which literally saves us so much money, and it's like an amazing product. It's ridiculously good, but the overhead is so low, it's actually saving us money compared to the product we were using before.
Right. So we found some great car wash. It's concentrate. Right. I actually like the I believe it's the McGuire's gold class, or it's like a yellow car wash, very foamy.
Yeah.
There's definitely great soaps out there. You want just like a high sud soap if you're going to scrub. There's all sorts of ways to wash a car, or just a pressure washer. This rinseless wash, so in the desert we have hard water. And so you can't, and I think in Vegas, and I don't know about St. George, but like the areas that we work in, I think it's illegal to wash your car outside because you're wasting water, unless you have like a tank that you get the spot-free water in and a pressure washer, so it's efficient. So we run into some loopholes, which is another thing to check when you're starting your business. Like, what are the rules? What can I do? What can I not do? But the hard water, when we use this rinseless car wash, so before it would be what, 20 to 30 bucks cost to wash a car with chemicals and
yeah, it was like 20 to 30, and then it would take us like an hour, 2 hours, somewhere in there.
Well, and we were using,
on what it was.
Sometimes we'd use a rinseless wash. If we were doing a regular wash, like we would have to scrub the bugs and like it just wasn't super efficient. So we found this rinseless wash from the Rad Company. By the way, quality products, Adams Polish, the Rad Company, and it's adamspolish.com. We're not sponsored, but this is products that we use. The radcompany.com. Very, very high quality products. But the Rad Company came out, they've had it out for years, but we finally watched a video where neither one of us are from the desert. So we live in the desert, but we're not from there. So
we're basically not used to like the hard water. If you guys don't know what that is, basically when you
calcium.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of calcium in the water out there, so if you like wash your car with like a hose, you're gonna leave these white water spots all over your car that basically just don't come off.
Yeah, you have to buff it off.
Yeah, so that's why they have to use like a specific type of water that they call like the spot-free
rinse.
Yeah, like a spot-free rinse.
It's a filtered water, basically,
to like get the calcium out. So.
Deionized water, whatever. It's
so we were trying to get around that because we were using this product called like a waterless car wash most of the time. So like it just like comes in a bottle and you just spray it on a rag and you wipe down the whole car with a rag. So there's no like water involved, and it's just a much longer process than simply washing.
Right. This rinseless car wash, and it's more expensive.
Yeah, it's way more expensive.
This rinseless car wash comes in a container about like this, but the rinseless wash, you could actually start a car wash business for like 200 bucks.
Oh, easily.
What's neat about that is you get a bottle like this that does 256 gallons of cleaner, right? Of water that we use.
Yeah.
So you can put
it's like a $20 bottle.
Yeah, I think it was like 30 bucks. So your cost.
The small one is like, it's like 17 bucks.
Oh yeah, 17 bucks. A kit was like 119 from the with the Rad Company or whatever. It's like 119.
Crazy.
But and the kit's really cool. It's got some extras in there. You can use it as a like for clay. You can use it for window cleaning, and it all just depends on the dilution rate. But what was cool for us, it eats the protein, so it eats the bugs. It's just a really cool product. And in fact, our Fab Rats video where we filmed with them, his truck was hammered. It hadn't been washed since like it was painted 90 days prior.
Yeah.
And he had driven it all over the state, bugs all over it. I mean, it was pretty dirty. And before I prepped it and got it ready to polish, I used this rinseless wash, and it was freaking awesome. Like, it took me half hour, and it took me half hour, 45 minutes because it was so dirty.
Yeah.
But I used 3 gallons.
Yeah.
Like, you mix it 3 or 4 gallons of water in a bucket, and literally that's all you use. So there's some cool videos on that. Look it up online. When there's 2 guys, it cuts it down to a third, not in half. It's like, or like 2/3, or it's like 3 times faster with 2 guys, because one guy just keeps going, the other guy's just drying off. Include your product with your startup costs and do research on your product. If you guys need help on products or whatever, hit us up, email us. We'll leave our links in the description. We're not going to charge for that. We want to help you. But I've got 20, since I was 18, I'm 42, so what, 24 years of detailing experience and product use. So hit us up. We're glad to show you some of our videos. The Fab Rats one is a great one that does have some of our products listed in that video. You've got your why, you've done your research, you're starting to figure out your startup costs. Now this is stuff they don't talk about. So they're like, oh, you could start a detailing business for $500. And they're correct, but they're missing some details there. So they
basically just tell you all the products you need to do the job.
Right.
But not how to get the job.
Right.
They don't calculate that into the price.
Exactly.
Which is a big problem.
Right. They're like, yeah, here's the material. And so that reminds me of a story. I was 22 years old, brand new baby at home. Just lost my job. I'll leave the details out. But anyways, the guy owed me money. He didn't pay me for 3 months, so I went and repoed some of his equipment. Like, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, so don't do that, guys. It is illegal. This was 20 years ago. I was big and bad back then, and just don't do that. But long story short, I went and started my own business, and it was a carpet cleaning business. And I'm like, man, I know how to do the work. Well, that's awesome. Now what?
How do you get the work?
Yeah, how do you get the work? So, guys, I was so broke. I had $20 to my name, right? I had sold everything. I bought I remember like a 91 Ford Aerostar van, like a cargo van. I had the few machines I had repoed from him, and I called him up and let him know, hey, I took your machines, you owe me money. And to his credit, he was like, oh, that's awesome, I couldn't pay you. I'm like, well, you think? So yeah, I go, hey, just write me a check for $200, we'll call it a day. Well, when you have a new baby, $200 does not go very far at all. So I had $20 in my name. I couldn't even afford business cards. Had just gotten a license, sold everything I had to get the van. I printed 20 business cards off from my computer. That was it. I walk into a hotel, which I happened to land 6 months later. But this is the point that I'm making is when I walk into this hotel, I handed up, the guy goes, hey, how can I help you? And I handed my business card, and I was as positive as I could be. Dumb as a freaking rock. But I was as positive as I could be, right? So I handed him my business card, and I'm like, hey, I clean carpets. Would you guys like your carpets cleaned? But I didn't know how to, like, communicate. So this is something they leave out in business, right? Is how do you communicate people? How do you sell the job? So I hand this guy my business card, and he takes it and he slides it back like this. He goes, well, we've already got somebody. And my rebuttal was not, oh, well, that's great. You know, if you ever can't get to something, or if you're ever unhappy with them, give me a call. That was not what I said. I took my business card like something you'd see in some dumb high school movie, and I took it and I slid it back to him, just like this. And I'm like, yeah, but I clean carpets. And after I said that, I'm like, oh, you freaking idiot. I didn't say anything. And the guy's looking at me like, okay. But he took my card. He did take my business card. And I'm like, and he goes, okay, thanks. I'm like, well, thanks. And I walk out. So literally as I'm leaving there, I'm hitting myself in the head. I'm like, you idiot, idiot, idiot. So after that, it was a rude awakening for me. I'm like, man, I know how to do the job, but I suck at all the other stuff. Right. So to my credit, what I did do is I went back and I read everything that I could find for the next 5 days, spent my last few dollars on books. Wasn't real familiar with online back then. We didn't have a lot of options back then either, as far as the online search, which we do now. So 5 days later, I went back out with just my few business cards and a little bit of gas that I had, and I booked 90 vacation rentals. I booked 110 vacation rentals. And then the rest was history. I made 80 grand in 6 months. I mean, it was just awesome, right? And it took off. So the point here is, it's awesome that you can do the job, but if you're gonna go in for your own business, like if you're gonna start your own business, you better know how to sell yourself and your business. And Ian will tell you now, no one can sell like me. I can go in and pull a job out of my rear end in 2 seconds. And he's watched me do that he's worked with me for a lot of years now, and he's watched me do that in a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, because currently I don't live in the Nevada area like he does, but sometimes I'll fly in to help with some of the jobs, because he'll just get a lot of work. Sometimes he gets injured a lot, so.
Pretty typical.
But not from the work, just in general he gets injured. But so, yeah, he'll like fly me in, and then sometimes I'll be like, well, yeah, if there's no more work, like we did all the work, like I'm leaving. If you find more work, I'll stay. And he's like, okay, 1 second. And then it's just like, oh yeah, I got 3 more jobs. Like, okay, all right, let's go.
But it started back when I was 22,
So,
right? It started back when I did that. I was so sick to my stomach about, yeah, I clean carpets, that it forced me to learn. And now, honestly, I kind of thrive on that. I like the challenge of talking with people, going to get the jobs, and pulling and other people. My friend Byron, like, he's watched me pull some big jobs out of my rear end. And he's like, how'd you do that? We're broke. We need money. Hey, we're running short here. Things are getting slow. We need work. I'll be right back.
yeah, I think that it's really important to understand that most of the time, just because you can do the job doesn't mean you're going to do well, like, selling it yourself. And so that's kind of like what we're getting at, is that a lot of the time, learning how to do the job, like, for the most part, maybe not being like the best of the best, but just learning how to do 80-90% of that job isn't actually that hard to do. The harder part for most people is like, now how do I take what I know and profit from it? That's the part that they don't know how to connect, is like, how do I find the people that are gonna want my service? Like, it's like, you know, like, where should I start looking? Like, should I be going to just like your average everyday like client, like people that just kind of, you know, citizens or whatever, or should I be going straight to the businesses? Should I be trying to partner with people? Like, those are the types of things that you don't really know when you're getting started. And so, like, I think it's good to understand like where you should start.
It's also intimidating. You know, a lot of people, a lot of people don't start their own business because of those things.
Yeah, you can't be scared.
It's but the fear of the unknown is a good thing if you use it as motivation to learn.
Once you've like, at least like I think for most people is like, it's always like the fear of like starting, but once you've bridged that gap, everything is easy after that. It just feels like it's like oh yeah, this was not nearly as hard as I thought it was gonna be. It just gets so much easier once you've started something.
Right. You think it's this huge mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But every time you take a step, you're that much closer to the top. And if you're worried about competition, like, oh, these guys are really good. There's some guys in Vegas that are the best in the business, and I won't say their names. But they cut a lot of corners, but their reputation is fantastic.
Yeah.
And they get some really high-end stuff, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
And so it's hard to look at that and be like, oh, dang, how do we compete with these guys? But something that I learned in business a long time ago was that there's always room for the best at the top. And how do you get to be the best is through your research, through your hustle, through your knowledge, your constant ability to learn, adapt, change. You know, the detail business is 1,000 times better than when I grew up. We had like 4 products growing up. That was it. There's like thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of products now.
Yeah.
So it's there's always room at the top for the best, and it takes a lifetime to build your reputation and a day to destroy it. And if you keep that in your head, like, you're going to do fine. So we've calculated costs. We've kind of told you some of the ins and outs. Let us know, like, in the comments what you guys want us to elaborate on.
Yeah, go like more in depth. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, right.
And we'd love to hear from you on that. So now you've got to come up with a business name and a couple tricks for that. So I go on GoDaddy or whatever search engine you want to go to, and I start typing in names that I think would work. And I start writing down names, or now I don't even carry pen and paper. We've got these fancy phones now that are pen and paper. So, but I used to write down names, and I'd come home and I'd search them on GoDaddy or whatever search engine you're going to use, because I want my name to match the not YouTube, yes, but I also want my name to match the my business name to match my website.
Right.
And I think that's people don't talk about that. I actually think that's really important. So, like, we're Glass It Detail, right? I own glassitdetail.com. Our YouTube channel is Glass It Detail. So it's a great marketing tactic that you can use to apply. Now, some people like to put their own name as a business name. The thing for me, when I come up with a business name, I want it to be a sellable product, because we're building a brand. A sellable name is not Rand's Detail, right?
Right.
Like it's Ian's Detail is not a sellable name. Adam's Polishes has built themselves up to be a sellable name. but it's a lot more work in the process, I think, if you want to do that down the road.
You know, actually, recently I watched the movie The Founder, which is all about like how like McDonald's became like such a huge like nationwide and like worldwide sensation. And there's like this moment near the end of the movie where I think his name's like Ray Kroc is like the guy's name that bought from the McDonald's brothers.
Yeah.
He's talking
That's
to
a great movie.
the McDonald's, one of the McDonald's guys in like a bathroom. And he's like, you know, as soon as I saw your guys' restaurant, I knew I had to have it because the name is so American, McDonald's. And then he says something about his name. He's like, what am I going to sell, Croc's burgers or
what
something?
A crock.
Like, yeah, it's like, who's going to want that? But McDonald's is such an American name. So he, from the name alone, was like, God, I have to have that name. He would never change that name. Like, you could never get him to change. He wanted that name specifically. Granted, he liked the business model.
Right.
But he was like, I'm taking the name too. I need that name. It was so important to him.
So one of the things I like to do, I had a business called Lazy Man's Yard Care. And I had this guy, my logo was, or my slogan was, we work so you don't have to. My logo was this guy in a rocking chair on a lawnmower, kind of laid back, but looked like he was ready to work. And the lawnmower was doing wheelies with grass shooting out the back. Like, it was kind of cool. But that's a sellable name. So one point I want to add here is don't stop. Don't get stuck.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of friends that, I know a lot of people that want to start a business and they get stuck. And they're stuck for years. Years. One step forward every day, all of a sudden, is 356?
65.
Oh, 365. He's better at math. But 365 steps in a year, right? So that's a lot of steps. So it's pretty soon, 10 days, you're 10 steps in. So don't stop. Don't get stuck up on the little thing. You can always change your name. Like that's one area people get stuck on is, man, this name's just not good enough. No, it's good enough to start.
Right, yeah.
You can always
don't
change
get hung up on things. Like just push forward, and then like in the future, if you want to make changes, you can do that. But don't get hung up. Don't say, oh, well, because I don't have literally everything I want to start, I can't start. That's not how it works. You know, he has a friend, for example, I'm not gonna name him, but the guy, he wants to do like a taxi service, but the thing is, he's like, oh, I need like a super high-end $100,000 rig. Like, dude, you don't need that. Your car is fine. You start with the car you have. Like, you don't need to build this huge capital up and have a huge overhead to start. And
he's a great guy, and honestly, he's got a good mind for that, but he's stuck on here when you can start here. And in the process, I think he's cost himself a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So when you get your business name, don't get stuck. Don't stop. It's good enough. You can always change it down the line. Make sure it's available with the state and the cities you work in. That's a big thing, because sometimes it might be available online as a domain, but it's not available where you're at. Right. So all three of those go together, and then get your business license. So you get your state license and your city license. Most cities, like Vegas, has 4 or 5 different licenses you got to have to work all over the city. Most cities, it's one license. It just kind of varies. Right. But get a business license. In Clark County, Nevada, it took us 3 months to get a business license. I've never been anywhere. I'm from Oregon originally, and it's 30 seconds.
Right.
So just know the area, check into that. And especially like if you're going cold turkey and you need to have income right away, like you better do some research, because that threw me for a loop when I went to Nevada. So. So get business license, get insurance, and my recommendation is $1 million coverage minimum. $1 million liability. You can also insure your tools as much as you want to do. Insurance is really important. So you're out there working on a car, right? And we use cordless stuff, but the scenario's there. Client walks out, trips on your cord. Who is liable for that?
Yeah.
You are. We are.
Yeah.
If they trip over your stuff, whether it was in the way or not does not matter. Whether you warned them or not does not matter. So if you're buffing a car and you slip and you dent the car, who's liable for that? You're going to pay for it out of pocket? I mean, if you can, awesome. But personally, that's what insurance is for.
Right.
So get insurance. Make sure you're covered. Compare rates. Do some research on insurance. Talk to your agents. Set a budget. Okay, so detailing business, what's cool is it's a relatively low overhead business.
Yeah.
There is some costs, of course, like gas, fuel, insurance. There's, if you have a building, electricity, like utilities, there is some cost, but set a budget. So you go, okay, I need, let's just call it $1,000, right? I need $1,000 before I can pay anybody or myself in this business.
Right.
So that's supposed to cover your fuel, and we're mobile. We kind of like being mobile. Shop is awesome, but if you can't buy a shop, it can get really expensive because rent continually goes up. Most shops now are $3,500 a month. That's a huge thing. We don't spend that in fuel. So
Yeah.
it's a little inconvenient sometimes because we've got to go work in hot garages and that kind of thing. As long as there's a covered area is kind of our rule of thumb where we work. But shops can get expensive. They can also make you a lot of money. So I'm not against the shop. I just don't want to be locked down at the moment. So so you set a budget and then you go, okay, I need $1,000 a month to pay all of my bills, right? Anything over, and then for the business, you got to make it separate. And my recommendation is start an LLC. So you are separate from the business, and the lawyer can explain all that, what an LLC is, an accountant, whatever. But start an LLC, relatively inexpensive. You usually can do it for $100 to $200. But include that in your budget. Keep some operating, have some savings. You've got taxes, you've got accountants, and all of that needs to be included into your budget.
Yeah, and sometimes you won't exactly know what your budget's going to be. So sometimes you're like, oh, I'm assuming I'm going to use this much product in a month, and I'll use this much gas, and like I need the, right? So what you can do is like the first month that you really start trying to get some work, you just kind of like keep track of all your spending, and then you can reflect on that, and you can do that for like the first like 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, just to really have a good understanding of like the average cost of everything, because your initial cost isn't going to be reflective of your like reoccurring costs.
Right.
So and then also if you're buying things like, let's say you're doing like the car wash route and you're doing like the vacuum and stuff inside, you have to keep in mind that things break. So obviously if you buy a vacuum, it probably won't break super early, but there is that chance. So like, yo, maybe in a year it just stops working, or maybe in like 8 months, or maybe 2 years, whatever it is. So like you have to be putting money, like keeping money in that business account, not just like taking all you need out like for the reoccurring costs and then giving yourself the rest. Keep some in there, so just in case something goes wrong, you have something to like splurge and just like, okay, I need to buy another vacuum, I need to buy more batteries, I need to buy another hose, like whatever it is.
This keeps you going. So
it's a good like fail safe too.
Right. So if you don't do what Ian just talks about, like your vacuum breaks and you don't have $100 or $60 or whatever to go get a vacuum, but you've got accounts the next day, what do?
Yeah.
You just cost yourself money and hurt your business and your reputation, because now you got to cancel, right? And then you got to call a relative. You got to do whatever you can to borrow money to get that vacuum so you can keep working. It's not a good thing. So the old saying is pay yourself first, like, and that includes your savings account. So next, after you set a budget, we've kind of gone through, just to recap: define your why, identify your areas, your market research, like calculate startup costs, come up with business name. Check with the licensing, see if the license is available, order business cards. So business cards are important. One trick people don't tell you is a cheap business card in the detailing world is a cheap detail. Don't do that. You can get inexpensive business cards that are not that are high quality. So I go to Vistaprint and I get the thickest cards they can get. And I'll show you a picture of my business cards. A very thick card. It's a high gloss, high quality card, because your first impression when talking to somebody is, oh, hey, here's my business card. Right. And they're going to look at it, and if it's a cheap business card, they're going to be like, thanks. But if you hand them like this is like 20 cards for me, where some of the other business cards are, 20 cards is like a quarter.
Yeah.
So you give them a thick business card, it does make a difference. It makes a bigger impression. It shows them you're serious. It shows them you're professional. Look the part. That's also like, I hate shaving, but if I'm not gonna shave, like, I'll at least clean up, you know, my neckline and that kind of stuff when I go. So I look presentable when I go to talk to people, because if you're straggly, you got this big afro that's out to here and this beard that's all in knots, and you go to hand somebody a business card, you're not going to get a call. And if you do, awesome, but it's not going to be in your favor down the line. So
yeah, I'll say, especially with the business cards, like, it's kind of thing to say, like, don't skip on the business cards. This is a really big point that we should be hammering, is because like the difference of cost is so small too, and it makes such a world of difference. It's actually crazy, like,
right,
because if you're like trying to save on business cards, you're like, well, I could spend like $10 to $15 versus like 30.
Yeah,
and it's like you're literally spending like an extra $10, $15, but you're getting like a 10 times better product, which is gonna land you way more clients. So like, just eat the $15. It doesn't matter.
That $15 is gonna land you hundreds of thousands of bucks.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Do not cut corners.
Don't cut corners on the marketing at all. It's like and another thing too, like he always likes to talk about, is like labeling up your rig is a really easy way to get clients. So like, that
was next on the list.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, on my rig right now, on the back window, it has my phone number and it says like what I do. So it's just like, and it's like, you know, sometimes you just get a call. It's better to have like a nice logo on side, but I'm just on the little Camry.
If you don't have a logo, it's okay. You don't, logos can come later.
Yeah.
But work with what you have. He's got a Camry. That's what he's got.
Yeah, I don't want a big logo on the side of my Camry, unfortunately.
But it looks classy. Like, that's the other thing. Don't make it look trashy. Like, you're gonna label up your rig, you want it clean. On a Camry, the best place to label it's on the back window. His is very clean, it's very legible. So labeling up your rig, you'll see like a lot of these guys that will label their rig real fancy, like front to back. If you can afford to do that, awesome, because that is the best advertisement you're gonna get, right? It's better than online marketing. It's because people see that. And so label up your rig. It's, if you're running a truck and you have a canopy on it, or a truck camper or whatever, label up the camper, like, or label up your back window or your tailgate, or label up your rig. And a lot of times it's not that expensive. It's
not.
Like, if it's just like a back window, it might be $100 to $200. It's not really that bad. But it is important, because back to looking official, right? Business cards and appearance make you look official. So when I go in to meet a new client, I've met some really high-end clients. I've walked into one of the bigger dealerships, if not the biggest dealership in Las Vegas, and booked ceramic coats with the general manager. That day, I walked in, booked it that day. And he had 2. So it was pretty cool. But I didn't go in, like right now I'm wearing my off-road games shirt, right? Cool shirt, this is the stuff I like to wear. I like watching these different YouTube channels and stuff. I'm wearing my Fab Rats hat. I didn't walk in looking like this. I walked in and I had a nice polo. No, I didn't have my own shirts and product that had like my own name on it. So I wore a nice polo, kind of a little bit nicer hat, and I was very clean cut. So if you're gonna go out and market and beat the streets, beating the streets is not necessarily the most effective, but it teaches you how to sell, and it puts you in a position to succeed down the road. It's just a ripple effect.
It's like a very head-on like approach that will give you a lot of experience really quickly and make you a lot more comfortable really quickly talking to people. And it gives you like a good idea of the things that people care about, because that's really what you're doing. You're selling to the people, so you're trying to figure out like what exactly do I need to say to them to make them want my services over another guy. And so like learning that, like the easiest way is to just get out and talk to people. And even if you're not landing the accounts, like you just take every single conversation as a learning experience.
Right. Hand out business cards, like all of the above. So we gotta label your rig. Next is a local phone number. This is stuff that's so easy to not do, right? So like if I'm in Vegas with an Oregon phone number, are people gonna actually take me serious on my business card? And the answer is no. Now, you do some jobs, you'll still get referrals with that phone number and stuff like that, but if I don't have a local phone number, they're going to be like, dude, who are you?
Right.
They're going to think you're some scam artist or whatever coming in. So there is some little things that, again, I haven't really been able to find this on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because those people just talk about the cost of like starting, as in like what products to buy to start the work.
Right.
They're talking about like how to do the work. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So local phone number. Next is don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Like there's so much. So when I started my businesses when I was 22, and I walked in, I'm like, hey, I clean carpets. That's all I had, right? Like the internet, advertising on internet, and in the small town, it was like non-existent. So like I had to go beat the streets and make a reputation just by talking to people. Yeah. But now, and I didn't know the wheel. So when I say don't reinvent the wheel, I didn't know what wheel to take. And then later on, I got business consultants, and there was some cool things that happened for me. But don't reinvent the wheel. You have YouTube, you have Google, you have Facebook, you have TikTok. Like there's so many things. And then if you can't find that information, or you want direct coaching, call us. We will help you with this process. So and we're happy to do that. So don't reinvent the wheel. Put your own twist on it. Like put your own fancy steering wheel on, right? But don't reinvent the wheel. Like you can still, there's so much information out there to help you be successful that you don't have to make the mistakes that I made when I was younger.
Yeah.
So,
just don't veer off too far. You can try things and whatever, but you know, if everybody's going like this, you can ride that same wave, but you can also, you know, differentiate a little bit. But if you're going like this, a lot of times you're just taking a really big risk and you don't know how it's going to play out.
It can be very expensive.
It's all about risk management, really.
Right.
That's really what it is.
So next is learn digital marketing. Now for me, he will tell you I am not tech savvy. I am not a computer guy. Like I don't know much about it. I'm learning it, right? So as of a year ago, I didn't know how to edit videos. So I'm learning all of this. I'm never going to stop learning. But digital marketing is something I've learned quite a bit about in the last year, and promotional videos. So we've all got a cell phone, right? So you don't need to have fancy cameras, fancy microphones, none of that to make a promotional video. You can make it for free.
Yeah.
And we can do some videos on that, like maybe how to make a good promotional video or what to look for. And then with that, your promotional video is what you would use for digital marketing. And once you have 10 or 15 videos, I wouldn't say make them all at once, but if you've got 10 or 15 videos, honestly, you can rotate those videos with your marketing throughout the year and maybe even a couple years. You know, if you can make a non-outdated video, which is a whole different topic, but you can use those videos for a long time. And so you're not just repeating the same video, because that's one thing about digital marketing is don't do the same thing over and over. Right. You gotta constantly reinvent. So the next is what we talked about, and I would say this is maybe where we're gonna end, is all successful businesses look at others' needs and then bring their own side to fulfill those needs. So in order to scale your business, you've got to train and you got to manage, right? So there's skill sets you need to learn if you don't have already. Build a network. So networking, if you don't know how to do that, join a network marketing business. Like network marketing is extremely difficult to make a living, but the ones that do make millions and they're good at it. So I can't say that it's not the best way, but it's very difficult, right? But what it does do is it allows you to learn to talk to people and present things in different ways. Because if I'm selling something to Ian, he's very literal and direct. He wants information, boom, 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 boom. And if I talk to him for about 2 minutes, I would know that, because that's how I've had to train my brain in sales. So, but if I'm talking to someone else, I've got to change my tactic. So network marketing teaches you those things, and we can teach you that stuff as well. But basically, like my sales pitch to Ian's going to be way different than some blonde in a Ferrari. right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's going to be a totally different approach, but all of it is going to build your network and your sales ability. So if you want to go into business, there's a reason authors are called best-selling authors. They're not best writing authors. There's so much more writers out there that can write, but they sell. And I think it's Robert Kiyosaki or somebody who talks about best-selling authors. But the best-selling author is the one that sells the video. So, but your network. So you learn networking and you build your network. Everywhere I go, I turn it into, I turn it into, oh man, your car looks awesome. Like, who takes care of that? And I take this approach, and sometimes, a lot of times, that leads into us getting a job from that. So I've learned to master networking, talking to people, building a network. Again, detailing millionaires' phone numbers in your phone. Now, why is that important? Because it will turn into business opportunities down the road. So they're always looking to grow their wealth, and all of us, we don't go into business because we want to be broke. We go into business because we want to provide for our families, whatever. We define our why, but making money is part of going into a business. It should not be your sole reason,
right?
But it is part of the business. And so when you get millionaires' contacts, you build relationships with them. Yes, right now you're just the guy scrubbing their car, right? But 2 years from now, when you constantly show up, when you talk to them, they might invite you to lunch, and who knows where that can go. I've had a lot of opportunities open up because of this type of thing. Back to Misadventure Lab and Fab Rats. Dude, I detail cars. Like I've built houses, I detail cars, I've ran my own businesses since I was 22. That's it. That's my skill set, right? So all I know is how to work with my hands. So I was thinking, okay, how do I leverage what I can do into something better with a higher, I don't want to say a higher class people, but like a higher net worth group of of people. So I was able to take that and email a bunch of YouTubers, and it took me a year while emailing Fab Rats for us to line up and go. But I didn't stop because they didn't tell me no. But now I have contact information for them, which is awesome. It's in my phone, right? And this is a YouTuber that has several viral videos. They average 300,000 videos per view, or per upload, and then they upload 3 times a week. We got in with Misadventure Lab as well, doing the same thing. So that networking it opens up doors for you to leverage what you have. Like, I'm not a computer guy. I can't go film a wedding and edit it for people. It would be cool, but I can't do it. So I have to leverage what I have, and networking is part of that. So you leverage your knowledge, your skill set. I mean, now I'm not saying get their contact information, share it with your friends. I will never give you guys my contact information for the YouTubers that I've met with. It will never happen because I'm not going to invade their personal space and their privacy.
Yeah.
So when you're getting these numbers, you're not going to be calling them up all the time and asking them, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? No. Be chill about it. They're just people, right? Like, just don't annoy them. Don't treat them as you would a friend, right? Like, but don't. And if you call your friends like that, your friends probably hate you. I will send them a text message. So, like, Fab Rats helped me book some jobs. They gave me a shout out on their channel, and I sent them a text message. Hey, that's awesome. Thanks, guys, for doing this. I really appreciate it. They text back. But what you're doing is you're building friendships, and those friendships, you don't know where they will lead down the road. So, don't blow up their phones. Don't abuse the privilege of. You will lose your credibility instantly when you start blowing up their phones and abuse the privilege that they have allowed you to have with their contact information. When you hand somebody your business card, something I was taught, hand them 2.
Right.
Always hand them 2. Not 3, 4, that's too much. And if they say, oh, I only need one, well, you know, I'm sure you probably know somebody. If you're happy with my work, just hand it out to somebody.
Right.
And then, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. So the leverage there is hand them to, because they know people, and odds are they're going to hand it to somebody.
Yeah.
And if they refuse it, back to the sales technique of don't take no for an answer. Just say, you know what, that I always hand people to, because I get a lot of referrals, and a lot of times they don't have an extra card. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Oh, thanks, man. And they'll take it. So there's always a way to word something in a way that's intriguing to somebody else. But in the comments, let us know, guys. We want your feedback, and we want to help you. Also, we do offer consulting services for the auto reconditioning business. We do offer training. You know, if you're interested in that, hit us up. All of our stuff and information will be in the description below. So, and if you guys like this video, check out these other videos down there as well. Catch you on the next one.